Good evening, everyone. Welcome to my live presentation on the basics of C Sharp. I'm Raity Vojdani, and I'm excited to have you all here tonight. In this session, we will cover the fundamentals of C Sharp and go through its syntax. Okay, let me share my PowerPoint. Okay, C Sharp is a versatile programming language developed by Microsoft, and it's widely used for building a variety of applications, including desktop, web, mobile, and gaming apps. Its syntax is similar to other C style languages like C, C++, and Java, and making it relatively easy to pick up if you're already familiar with those languages. Before we dive into C Sharp, I would like to share a personal experience that might help some of you. A year ago, I was nervous about learning a new programming language, and I thought it would be too different and hard to understand. Then I talked to Mr. Hemmati, who gave me some advice that already helped. He said, if you understand the basics, learning a new language is like learning new ways to say the same things. And this made perfect sense to me, and it meant that once I knew the main ideas, learning a new language would be more about learning new words and starting from scratch. Before learning C Sharp, I worked with Angular, which uses TypeScript. Because of this experience, I want to compare C Sharp with TypeScript as well. Today, I want to show you how this advice worked for me, and we will compare some simple code in TypeScript and C Sharp to see how they are similar, even though they look different. This will show that once you're comfortable with one language, picking up another is not as scary as it sounds. Let's start by looking at some example in both languages, and don't worry if you don't catch everything. Just focus on the main ideas. Let's start by looking at simple for loop example in both TypeScript and C Sharp. This will help us see how similar the syntax is, even though they are different languages. Our first one is for in C Sharp, and the second image is a loop in TypeScript. As you can see, both loops do the same thing. They iterate over 0 to 4 and printing each number to the console. In TypeScript, we use let I to initialize the loop variable, but in C Sharp, we use int I equal to 0. The int keyword specifies that I is an integer. In both TypeScript and C Sharp, the condition I less than 5 determines how long the loop runs, and the increment part I++ is the same both languages, and it increases the value of I by 1 after each loop iteration. The main difference here is in the keywords and the function used to print the console. However, the structure and logic are very similar. Here's a basic implementation of the bubble sort algorithm in TypeScript and C Sharp. As you can see, the implementation in both TypeScript and C Sharp are quite similar. They both use nested loops to iterate through the array and compare elements, and swapping them if necessary to achieve sorting. Now that we have explored some practical examples and comparisons between TypeScript and C Sharp, let's return to the main focus of our presentation. C Sharp is a flexible and modern programming language, and it can be used to build various types of applications. Let's talk about cool features. About type safety, imagine if your program could catch mistakes before they even happen. That's what type safety does. It makes sure you're using the right kinds of information in the right place and helping to prevent errors. About garbage collection, it sounds messy, but it's actually quite neat. Garbage collection helps manage memory automatically, so you can focus on writing code instead of worrying about memory leaks. And think of libraries as toolboxes filled with useful gadgets. C Sharp comes with lots of built in tools and libraries to make coding easier and faster. Originally, C Sharp was best buddies with Windows, but now with .NET Core, it's like C Sharp has spread its wings and can fly on Windows, Linux, and Mac OS too. This means your C Sharp skills aren't just limited to one platform. Let's talk about the environment tools available for coding in C Sharp. While there are various IDEs out there, I will be highlighting two popular ones: Visual Studio, VS Code, and Visual Studio. Okay, keep in mind that these are just two options among many. Different ideas offer different features. Now let's delve deeper into the world of C Sharp. In this section, we have the division of numbers into two parts, integers and floating types, which are written as a subset of each. Okay, loops in programming are control structure that allow us to execute a block of code repeatedly. In C Sharp, we have several types of loops, each serving different purpose and offering unique functionalities. The for loop comprise three components: initializing, condition, and iteration expression. Initiali- Initially, I is set to 0 at first. Initiating the loop after each iteration, I increments by 1 and it's becoming 1 and the loop repeats until I is greater than 4. The for each loop is especially designed for iterating over collections such as array or list. It simplifies the process of iterating through elements without needing to manage an index variable. The do while loop is a control flow statement that executes a block of a code repeatedly until a specified condition becomes false, where the loop executes the block of code first and then checks the condition of the statement. In C Sharp, a list is a generic collection class provided by the .NET Framework, and it provides a flexible and dynamically resizable array-like structure. But unlike arrays, the size of a list can grow or shrink dynamically as elements are added or removed. And list is a generic type, which means you can specify the type of elements it will store. And this ensures type safety and compile time. And list provides various methods such as adding, removing, searching, and sorting, as you can see in my slide. And we can add an element to the end of the list by add method. And we can remove the first occurrence of the specified element by remove method. Okay, before we say goodbye, let's put our newfound knowledge into action. And all right, now let's put our learning into practice by coding a simple algorithm. And sorry, okay. We are going to implement the bubble sort algorithm, a classic sorting technique live in Visual Studio Code. And this algorithm will sort a list of numbers. Let me open my VS Code. Okay, I have created a project in my VS Code before and I want to start it. Okay, first for this algorithm, I want to show a message to user and I start with console dot write and the message integer numbers. Okay, and sorry. Okay, don't forget to put semicolons. Okay, after that, I want to get user input. For that, I should define my type. I want to have array of integers, init names, numbers. So for getting the user input, we should use console.readline that I console.readline. But be careful. With this method, you will get a string. But as you can see, we want an array of integers. So for that, first of all, we should split it with commas, and after that, convert it to an array. Okay, read line. After that, split with commas. And then I want to use select int parse and then to array. Okay, that's it. And now let's define our sort method. Void, because our method won't have any output, and the name of our method. Okay, the body of our method. Okay, at first I want to define a for loop. Okay, first int I equal to 0. After that, I listen our numbers lengths. I want to use a -1 because as you will see at this point, if when we want to compare elements, it will be help us. And I plus plus. Okay, let's write if we want to compare elements, especially if number of index I is greater than numbers of index I plus 1, then we should swap them. And for this, I want to define another variable, and I call it temp, that I want to store numbers of index I. Okay, and after that, I want swapping them. So numbers index I, numbers index I plus 1. And we should store temp to numbers index I plus 1 temp. Okay, but this isn't enough because as you can see, this for loop iterates all over our elements. But to make sure that our elements are sorting, we should put another for loop. But this time, we shouldn't have to iterate over all elements. Just half of them is enough for us. So int j equal to 0, and then j less than numbers lengths divided by 2. And okay, but as you can see, we have error expected. Okay. As you can see, I put half, but it will be not correct. It won't be correct because of this part. Uh, for this part, we should round it up to the nearest integer number. And for that, I want to use a math ceiling, but before that, we should convert this part of our code to floating because this math ceiling method is used for the floating numbers and not for integer number. So for that, first of all, I use math dot. And as you can see, we have error for the reason that I have told you. And we should round it. Okay, we should convert it to decimal. Okay, that's it. And in the end of that, I want to log my sorting numbers. Let's use console dot write line. No. Okay, sort and numbers. Don't forget to put semicolon. Okay, this part is correct actually, but when we run it, you can see you won't see all of the elements that you expect. But I want to use for each to iterate all elements and for each. Okay, I call it A in numbers. Okay, I'll put this line inside our for each loop. So I have changed this to A. Okay, and we have to call our method, sorts method. Oh. Sort. Okay, let's run. Okay, enter numbers 20 to 45, 30, and 12. Okay, that's our output as we expected. Okay, and with that, we have reached the end of our coding session, and my presentation is over. And I want to give a special thanks to Mr. Hemmati for his invaluable advice and encouragement. Your support has made a big difference in my journey, and I'm grateful for that. And thank you all for joining me today as we explored the basic of C Sharp. And goodbye and good night to all.